Rural News Outlet.
Yes.
Yeah. And then we have Ms. Dilbar Parak, who is from Bombay, who's worked with a SEMA Foundation in working with rehabilitating street children. And we have Ms. Vidya Shankar, who is the chairperson of Relief Foundation, and her organization also works towards helping children who are in emotional distress in very difficult circumstances. Thank you all so much for agreeing to be a part of this panel. I'd also draw your attention to Peter Hessing who's here. He made a very, very interesting presentation yesterday about some work that he did with, he runs a network of schools in Haiti with economically backward children. So, over to the panel. And so each of the panelists will have about 15-ish minutes to make their presentations. And after that, we will just leave it open to all of you and we will see how the afternoon unfolds. Thank you so much.
Hello, thank you for having me here. My name is Peter Erskine, and in 2005 in Australia, the last Congress, a foundation was formed called Montessori Children's Foundation. And part of their aim was to establish Montessori programs in Indigenous communities in Australia. Don't know whether you are aware of the history of white and black relations in Australia, but the history of Aboriginal people since white settlement in Australia is pretty much one of dispossession and all the problems that go along with that. Can you hear me? No. You can't hear me? Okay. So, as I was saying, in 2005, at the last Congress in Australia, a foundation was formed called the Montessori Children's Foundation. And its purpose was to, one of its aims was to help Aboriginal people to create their own Montessori learning environments in schools and to train teachers to work in those schools. I found myself in a rural town in New South Wales called Armidale at the same time, and there was an Aboriginal school there called Minimba. They had an empty schoolroom, and I approached them and asked them if they'd like to have a Montessori program in their school, and they said they would. So the Montessori Children's Foundation helped to fund this program. They helped all the start-up costs to start a Montessori, a sort of 6 to 9 program, but in actual fact it's worked out to be more like 5 to 10 years old age range. And most of the children in that program are Aboriginal. It's a 95% Aboriginal school. There are white children as well, mainly Aboriginal children. The history of Aboriginal and white relations in Australia is a very sad one. And for the people in this school and this community, like many other such communities in Australia, they struggle with all the problems of dispossession and a loss of their culture, sometimes so profound that they no longer have, sometimes so profound they no longer have the language, even the language they used to speak. Now I walked into this situation knowing something of the history, of course, because I did find out a little bit about it being in Australia, but a lot of the nuances I wasn't aware of. So in the last 2 years I've been learning a lot about working in this situation with Aboriginal people. The other aspect is of course, it's an Aboriginal school. I am a white person, and I had to be really very careful. I came in through the side door, I was invited in, but really as well as trying to get a Montessori program going, I also had to learn to try and work with the Aboriginal community and the people who are running the school. And so for me, a lot of the time it's been basically just observing and watching how they're running the school and trying to get my program up and running as best as I can. I think some of the problems that the children and the Aboriginal families in this town face are common to all Aboriginal people in Australia. There's a lack of a sense of identity in their own country. They have lost their connection with their land in many cases, not in all cases. certainly in where I work, that's true. They no longer have a language. There are very few employment opportunities for the people in this community, particularly the men. So they also, most of the parents at the school have experienced a kind of mainstream education in a culture which has profoundly marginalised them. And in fact, it was only until fairly recently, only until 20 years ago, that children were still being taken away from their families by the white authorities and put in orphanages and so on, with the idea, which wasn't often expressed explicitly, but the idea was to breed out the Aboriginality of these people and to help them to assimilate, or to make them assimilate into white society. Now, this is a culture that has been probably the oldest living culture anywhere in the world. They have lived in Australia from between 60 to 100,000 years of continuous habitation. And in the space of 200 years, their entire connection with their culture and the land has been profoundly disturbed, in some cases completely destroyed. So the resonances of this, of course, are being passed on from generation to generation. And the children in this school, their own parents experienced all this. They can still tell you about how their own grandparents were taken from their families. The grandparents can tell you everything about that time and about the massacres that happened in that area, white settlers killing the Aboriginal people. So it's still very fresh, although if you read the guidebook for this area, there's absolutely no mention at all of this kind of history. Other Australians who drive through this town on their holidays would know nothing about this. So it's pretty much a sort of whitewash, really. The children who come into this school, they're no different from many other children, except that they're within a milieu which basically there's a very profound sense of hopelessness, I believe, and helplessness. There's not a deep sense of identification with the community in which they live, not a great sense of hope about where they're going to be going in the future. And most of the educational experiences for them and their parents have been such that they've been completely turned off. So those children, if they're in a mainstream school even today, they're often pushed into a corner of the classroom because they're regarded as too hard to teach, or they're regarded as having special needs, so they need to be all placed together and given the same kind of treatment, which is often the teacher at the blackboard in front of the room teaching in English, which of course all Aboriginal people speak English, but it's not really their first language. So often children in that situation sitting there with a complete lack of understanding of why they're there. What's the meaning of this? Of course, they can't express it. It's never explicitly mentioned in the curriculum that the purpose of education is for one to establish a sort of meaningful connection with one's own life and one's future. So where to from here? Most of those children, by the time they reach 9 years old, have completely turned off education completely. By 10 or 12-year-old, most of the boys are spending 80, 60, 70% of the time out of school for various reasons. There are also cultural reasons why this occurs. Of course, there is a lot of movement between towns. Families have many connections with other families in different parts of the state. So there's a lot of movement. Also people looking for work and so forth. So these are the kinds of problems, I guess, which I'm learning about as a Montessori teacher. I came in with many years' experience in 3 to 6 and a few years' experience in elementary. And this is really my first elementary classroom that I've had to myself to work with. It's been at once a constraining experience, but at once a very freeing experience because it's allowed me to try basically anything that works. And the wonderful thing about Montessori is that it gives you an immense array of techniques, I suppose, and resources upon which to draw upon. And that's really helped me a lot, working with these children. In the 2 years that I've been there, I've noticed remarkable changes with the children. I can't claim that there's been huge academic achievements, although in one sense there has. But I'd like to tell you, just to share with you an anecdote that from the beginning, in the very first days I was at the school. I had been working at the school before I took on a job as a teacher, just helping the other teachers, running some remedial programs for children who needed extra literacy and so on. And while I was there, two boys got themselves into trouble by collecting lots and lots of gravel and going to the girls' toilets and throwing it into the girls' toilets. And of course the teacher came and yelled at them and told them to clean it up. And there was gravel all over the floor. And the two boys looked at each other and they had no idea how they were going to clean it up. As all Montessorians know, if you have stuff spread all over the place, there's no means to clean it up, it's not going to get cleaned up. So they started throwing the stones again. So I showed them a presentation of how to sweep, which is, sort of standard, I guess, practical life practice in a Montessori classroom. Gave them a broom, put a circle on the ground with a piece of chalk so that had somewhere to sweep this, all these stones into. It gave them some hope of control, at least of being able to achieve some success. And of course they did, and from that day on, I guess for the next week or 2 weeks, these two boys were out there every recess and lunchtime with the broom, sweeping up this playground. And the teachers sort of said, well, what have you started here? What are you doing? We've never seen this kind of thing before. These kinds of things have been happening, I guess, intermittently, but steadily and more often in my classroom since I've been there. The first thing I started with is practical life, which has really been the basis of everything. Practical life and drawing. And from that, everything else is really progressed there. And I should stop talking, but these children in 2 years' time have progressed from barely being able to count to 20, barely being able to read basic three-letter words, to now being able to read short, good quality children's fiction, illustrated and non-illustrated, to write stories that are 2 or 3 pages long, and are now working with numbers up to 1,000, multiplication, addition, and so on. That's as well as the obvious sense of growing independence and confidence in themselves, which is translated to the families. The families are now taking the children to the local library, which never happened before, and reading the books with their children, because many of the adults themselves can't read or write either, not all. So that's kind of a quick sort of view of this particular program in Australia. Thank you.
And we talked to the mothers, we talked to the children, and they said, would you like to come, have you been to school before? Would you like to come? We spoke a little to the mother, what she does, what does the father do. Then one mother said, why don't you come to the place where we live? And we've been seeing the children there for years, but none of us had even thought of asking where do you live or whatever. We realized it was just in a community very close by. So the next morning we went to the community and all the little children all over. We said, would you like to come to school? And their mother said, yes, we would like. We don't want the children to grow up the way we have. We would like to send them to school. So at that time, Asima had very little money, no place, and we were wondering how we would do it. But we got a batch of about 18 children, and we were very fortunate because we have a funding agency in Mumbai called Concern India Foundation. They gave us a grant. And the same week that we got that grant, one of the principals of a private school there said, you could use my classroom after school hours. So that's how we started in 1997 with 18. These were the first lot of children we had. And as you can see, they were all different ages. We were at that time helping with, we were working only with the help of volunteers. No regular teachers in school. We had these children in for 3 hours every evening, and after a short time we realized that the rest of the time they were still begging, or they were working in the local chai shop, or they were cleaning cars. So we started in November, December, and when the term in India begins in June. So in the month of April we called all the parents and we said, now you must also send your children to mainstream schools. You should admit them to municipal schools, either Hindi medium or Marathi medium. And in the evening you continue to send them to us to study. So they said, no, if you have to send to Hindi medium school and Marathi medium schools, we don't want to send them. We want our children to study English. We were a little taken aback. We said, look, nobody at home is a teacher. So there were 4 children in one class, one teacher attending to children in 4 different classes and one attending to 3. So they were not learning very much. By that time, we had started a pre-primary which was run on Montessori lines. We started that because we got a volunteer who was a Montessori trained teacher. She was trained in Mumbai by Ms. Malwa, and she came to us, and we have been doing regular kind of teaching, ECC, playway method. And it was going okay, but not as fast as we would have liked it to. Progress was a little slow, and she suggested, she's the person in the picture, she suggested, why don't you do the Montessori system? So we set up our first Montessori center. We ordered all the apparatus and we started the first center. The Montessori apparatus that we know is costly, but we thought that these children are anyway denied the opportunity, and if we are to give them the same education that our other children get, then we must have the best quality for them. So we said it's an investment which is really worth making. And it's something which is going to last a long time. So we got all the material and we set up a Montessori class, and they were learning so quickly and so well that and then after that, after being with us for a certain time, we were admitting them in the municipal school. We found some of them were forgetting what they had learned. That was like really, our teachers and all of us were saying, now what do we do? Because there's no proper teacher in the government school. So we took the decision to adopt that municipal school. Now in Mumbai, we have this system of adoption of municipal schools. To be very honest with you, we really don't know what it meant when we wrote to the BNC and said we would like to adopt this school. As some those of you know that things in the municipal schools go run very slowly in government in general. And we thought it would take, maybe a year, maybe even 2 years for the permission to come through. So we were pleasantly surprised that about 2 months later, somebody came and visited us and said, yes, we've seen what you're doing, it's okay, you can adopt this school. And he handed us a small booklet of the rules for adoption. And when we read that, we realized that this meant really just beautification of the school.
Yes.
So we said, oh my God, what are we going to do? And we were fortunate, the toilets and the drainage system was like, you couldn't really step into the toilet. The drainage system was completely broken. We were very fortunate, we got the help from a corporate. They didn't give us money, but this person said she would send their workers and they came and they repaired it. So we were able to start working in that school. I'll just show you some of the pictures. This is the Montessori that we have. It's with all the apparatus, as you can see. This is the municipal school that we adopted in 2001. This was the state of the building before we adopted it. This was the state of the classrooms, completely infested with termites. This was the state of the playground. There was a slide in the school which was like this. In fact, some of our teachers, one of whom is here, Nirmala, she said that all the little ones would get injured. They would want to go, naturally children would want to go on a slide with it, and they would do nothing about it. And this is after the adoption. We were able to put in some play equipment with some of the older children who are in the school. This is the library which we set up. This was a little later. This is the playground where they now have sports. We still have an evening center where they come to us for homework and where they learn several other things. At Asima, we also teach we have a lot of co-curricular activities because it's not just learning history, geography, science. We teach art, we teach yoga, we teach judo, we have sports, we have dance, drama, and a lot of other activities. Okay, this is the reason for showing you those pictures was that this is not an isolated example. There is just one school which is in this condition. Some of us have had the opportunity to visit several municipal schools, and we find that most schools are in this condition. And all of us feel really very bad about it, and we feel we seriously need to do something because all our poor, underprivileged children are going to these schools. They don't have opportunities to go even afford aided schools. So, and we feel if we could do this in one school, why can the government or other NGOs not do it? It's perfectly possible. We also took the decision that not just to improve infrastructure, but we put in a teacher. The first thing we put a teacher in the standard 1. And we could only afford one teacher at that stage. But now, in 2008, we had teachers in all the classes, the school is doing so well. Now, this was a school incidentally which was going to close down at one stage. There were less than 100 children in the school, and they said that they were going to I think this is a trend all over India. Some of you know that they're closing down the government schools and they're selling off the property to builders, etc. That's happening in a lot of places. And now we have, in this particular school, we have over 500 children. And the school, we believe in a small class size with student-teacher ratio as to be good for effective learning to happen. So we requested the BMC, can we run the school in shifts? So now the entire school runs in 2 shifts, so we can have at least 30 children in one class and one teacher. Still in some of the junior classes, we have like 50 children, but we have a lot of volunteers who come in to help, so that is how we manage. This is the children do very incredibly beautiful art, and we have we have art exhibitions where we put up their work, and we've developed a whole range of products which we sell to raise money, because most of our money comes from donations. So I just went to, today I didn't bring the Kalakshetra bag, I bought this bag just to show you. This is we do this kind of art, and then we make a whole range of products. It's like stationery, it's cloth bags, it's tableware, it's all kinds of things which we sell to raise money for the center. This is, I'll be very honest, it doesn't bring in a lot of income. We still have 95% of we have to meet our expenses with donations, but it's very good for the child's self-esteem. They see their painting nicely framed, put up on the wall, appreciated, people buying the products being sold. And in Bombay, when you talk about Asima, the first thing most people tell us, oh, your products. Actually, they are better known than our education center. But this is also a very good way for us to, you tell people, yes, you're running an education center, okay, education center, fine, there are a lot of people running an education center. But this is a good way for organizations like ours also to get some visibility, because our children's work is really beautiful. And we have the artist who comes in to teach the children. She's taught in private schools as well. She's a fine artist herself, and she said, look, I've taught in private schools for like 30 years, and I tell you there is no difference between the children I have taught in these schools and the children that we have in our school now. You just need to give them the right opportunities. And you need to give them what you are giving children in private school. You can't give them less. In fact, some of us feel they're so behind that they need perhaps more than what you get in a normal school, and that is exactly what we try and provide. I must tell you this, that I think we're the only school for street children in India which follows the Montessori method. I mean, I don't know any other. And sometimes people come to us and say, what, Montessori? But why not? Is it just the lack of it? Why do we always think that they have to do something less? Why can't we provide the best for them? And maybe our numbers here are very large, but I think at some stage we all need to sit and think, if you want to give them, if we talk about equality, then we have to do it. We have to somehow see that we provide that equality. This is one of the, I'm sorry about
No, this was for the
This is one of the exhibitions where all the children's work is on display. And some of the little ones. We also have the little ones also do etc. This is a local, now the local community is so involved. They've been seeing people who live around the school, etc. They say that, the school was looking so run down before, how nice it looks. This is an organization in Bandra, and they have donated a school bus, and a lot of people living around say, can we come to help? Can we come and, distribute the money? Can we come and what? Can we teach for a couple of hours a week? So it's really become like a community initiative. This is, we have now, the government last year for the first time in Bombay Municipal Corporation has started looking at pre-primary education. So far they were only looking at standard 1 to standard 10. But we pointed out to them that we have to give the children a firm educational foundation. Even standard 1 is too late. So they have set up now pre-primary sections in several municipal schools, and a lot of NGOs were asked to run the pre-primary. So we adopted another school at Santa Cruz, and we have moved our full pre-primary section there, and we cater to about 250 children over there. This is at the new Santa Cruz school, again on Montessori Center. We have run 4 classes, or 4 different classes, all Montessori at Santa Cruz, again working in 2 shifts. This is it in 2007, we had teachers. This is just to give you an idea of what the children, you would think that these are children from any private school as well. They look nicely dressed, and initially when they came to us, they all had matted hair and come very untidy when they first started. Until we used to tell them every day that, no, go and wash, comb your hair, come. And then we realized that every day they're still coming in this condition. So one of our teachers, in fact, Nicola, the one, she said, maybe they haven't seen themselves in a mirror. Yes. So she brought a little mirror, and then every day they would first come and look in that mirror and wash themselves. The things that we take so much for granted. This is the school again running in 2 shifts. This is another pre-primary section. This year we have started standard 8 because most schools in India go up to standard 10. This particular school was only up to standard 7. So this year we've gone to standard 8 and next year 9 and 10. So these are standard 8. These 3 students just won a quiz contest. So we have their picture. We made a film on child rights called Raju and I a while ago. It's a wonderful film. If anybody would like to have copies, you can write to us. It's an animation film and it talks about child rights. And 2 years back it won the national award. It's a beautiful film, very nice to show to children in schools. This is something we have started recently. It's a group education center for tribal children in a rural area which is about 3.5 hours from Bombay. You all heard about the Vipassana trainings today. The main Vipassana center is in Igatpuri. We are not in any way connected with the center, but this is where we've been training local Anganwadi teachers. These are the local Anganwadi teachers who've been training. And this is a plot of land we have now bought, about 14 acres, to set up an education center for the tribal children. We've set up this about a year ago. It was very interesting. The government passed an order that there should be an Anganwadi in this village, but they didn't provide a building, they didn't provide any land. So we said, where are the teachers? We are trained. We said, where are they to sit? They can sit in somebody's house. So can't do that. And we said, okay, let's look in this area, if there's any land available, maybe we can build something small. So we were looking around, and a very old villager, she came up to us and she said, I see you coming here, the last few days. I believe you are looking for land. So we said, yes. She said, to set up a little school for our children? We said, yes. So she said, I grow my nachni, which is a crop over there, but I will give you a little place. And she gave us this plot. She didn't take anything from us. She just gave us this land. And we actually named the school after her. We called it the Sitabai Pauji Mengal Anganwadi. This is a little annual day program, just to show you what kind of area it is. Yeah, this is where the program was held. These are some of the children, the tribal children. They are annual day, and they are actually delighted to perform on stage. And this is some of their siblings and others, parents who have come to watch. These are our future plans: construction of our main center for tribal children to start standard 8, and we are now working on a manual for our education philosophy. We believe very strongly in a close bond between the teacher and the child, because our children have tremendous, huge emotional problems given their family background, and we really believe that learning will not happen unless these problems are taken care of. So we have a child psychotherapist coming to talk to our teachers, and really we feel that just language and maths and science and all come later. We really need to handle those issues first. So based on our teaching philosophy, we have put together an education. We're still putting it together. The part of the pre-primary is ready. Our teacher approach is Montessori, yes, but it's also based on the teaching approach of 2 schools. One is the Sri Aurobindo school in Pondicherry, and the other is a school in Kerala, which is in a small village, the Sri Atmananda Memorial School. Basically, all these approaches are very child-centered. They talk about the strong bond between child and teacher. This is just a plan for the Rural Education Center. This is some of our teachers. We celebrate all festivals. Their birthdays we celebrate. This is very, very important because most of them don't even know when they were born here. So this is some festival. This is mother of some of our children who come and help out at the school. And I think that is it. I think I've taken too much time already. Thank you very much.
I'm really overwhelmed by what's been happening yesterday with Mr. Peter here. The presentations made us really overwhelming. One is the great connective feeling that they would have shared the frustrations, anger, and then the problems which probably I could relate to very well. First, I must confess that I knew nothing of Montessori. To be very frank, it was not a very straightforward journey, probably easier for them, but for me it had to be a convoluted route. We started an organization called the Re Foundation. We started working with the older children who were in difficult circumstances. Because, as citizens of Chennai, we came to know about so many problems children face. I happened to be working with the police and then the NGOs who were working with such children. So children who were rescued from different problems like prostitution, bonded labor, all kinds of problems. They all used to come in a heaps and heaps and heaps. They used to come and they used to land in these homes. So we work with them there. And most of them are 13, 15, 18, 16. So we spent a lot of time with them as an NGO. And then by somehow twist of fate, without any legal background or anything like that, I got myself positioned by the government. They called me to take on the position of the chairman of the Juvenile Welfare Board of Chennai. No clue, nothing. Don't even know what the act is all about. So I immediately took all the books to read. Oh my God, so many things are there. But then, in the heart, I knew what has to be done for the child. So I was always looking at everything from the child's point of view. Probably that's why they dared. They really dared to put me in that place. Because that place has never seen a person below 35, 10 years ago. Yeah. So it was a big shock when I found myself sitting along with people who were much older than me and who were trained and indoctrinated with the old reformatory rules of child, reformation. And here I'm talking of rights. No, you can't do it. You shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be putting a child like that. You shouldn't be treating the child like that. So what's this discipline all about? When I started questioning all kinds of problems, I couldn't relate to them, they couldn't relate to me then, but then I had to really take this on because for the sake of children. So there, a series of processes of changes happened with a lot of work I had to do with the adults in order to treat children well. Now, only if I make a breakthrough with the adults, and it was an autonomous body, it was not a government post, it was autonomous, you could do anything, you had enormous powers. So literally we combed the cities of Chennai of child breakers, we did all what we could for children. But then I managed to get my team people also in tune with what I was trying to say when they saw the results in while working for the children. Now to make a breakthrough with adults was very important because only then I could reach the children. See, the children used to be brought and then taken away. I couldn't have much of interaction with them. Then to get a breakthrough, to get a time to spend with the children was the biggest ever experience in my life. It would give me a postdoctoral research paper. So much of information came from them. Hours and hours and hours we spent with them to understand what's really going on in their lives. We did up their toilets. We managed, just like how Asima we managed to get corporates inside these homes and then managed to do up their toilets. Only to our shock and horror, I'm sorry to say, in this August gathering, the children couldn't go inside that. They said, Auntie, we don't feel like going inside there. Because we've always been going outside. You close the door, it's not coming. That was a big shock for us. It was a big shock. And then I had to do toilet training for children for 14 years. It was just not feasible to think. So that was our biggest huge shock which we got, that children didn't see what it was to lead life the way they had lost their childhood. And to sit with them and to understand what really went wrong. Everything started off well in their life. Children, and I'm talking of children who were in need of care and protection, who were brought before as victims, or who victimized, who were performing offences on either children or adults and perpetrators of crime. There was no difference between both. Just that these people were brought by NGOs or some rescue people, these people were brought by the police. Of course, they were housed in 2 different homes, had the same mindset, no change. So we were working with all of them and spending so much of time with them to understand the sad truth that everything started off well in their lives. They were enrolled, in pre-primary or whatever, Balgadi, Anganwadi, whatever. And then something went on and on. Some derailment happened here or there. So all that information was huge treasure for us to understand that the whole problem started much, much earlier. So, but for this it took 2-3 years to get through to this extent. What we thought was, because they were about 14 plus to 18, we must start off working with the 10 plus. I think that if we work with about 10 plus, we will prevent all these people from falling out into the society or derailing or dropping out. We started working in government schools because we didn't have our own schools. We put our volunteers and staff and trained teachers and all that. We put them into 3 or 4 schools, who were the municipal schools, to find out what's really happening in those places. And we uncovered horror stories there too. That actually teachers were not coming. Their regular teachers were not coming. The children didn't know anything at 8th standard level. He couldn't write a thing. So he was in 8th standard. And then after 8th standard, the trimming starts. The school will call the parent and say that your child does nothing. Go, take him and go. So he is actually 8th standard pass or sometimes 5th standard pass and sent home. Just because the education system couldn't cater to his creativity or to his way of learning or the intelligence or so many things we see, visual, audio, and then kinesthetic learning or 7 types of intelligences. Who tells them all that? Nothing. You take your child and go home. So this fellow, doesn't he have the brains? I found these children were really intelligent children. Very intelligent children. If they had been given best of opportunity, they would have really outshone. But then when things were going wrong, we found that by supporting them even at the middle level was of no use. Because it was not getting anywhere. We were pumping in so much of money, the impact was hardly seen. And luckily we had a review on and on to find out for every rupee what we are contributing, what is it really achieving. So then we quickly moved on to find out that in the primary level, nothing was happening as well. And then we found that that's when we entered the government settings. 40,000, some 238 centers. Actually, I have visited, personally, we have traveled and visited mostly about 500 centers we would have visited in the last 10 years. Let me tell you, I have a big story to tell. That's different. Let me not get into the other side of it. But there is some effort, some awareness happening. But just what is happening in the headquarters or in a Chennai metro is not what is happening in district, is not what is happening in rural areas. Please believe me. And I found that when we started working with these children, we started mapping them. All the 3 of us happen to be engineers who started the trust. And that's why I said I am not even qualified to stand, and speak on child psychology and all. But anyway, now when we mapped all this, we put all the maps, we put the documentation together, we started finding out areas from which these children are coming and found the conditions there bad to us. So if we had to work there, what we need to do? So these were border areas, bordering the metro and an adjoining district. Those were highly vulnerable, high-risk areas. Nothing was really happening there. So, but then, to suddenly tell that, oh yeah, we have the panacea, we have the solution to all these problems, which is not possible. So we have to work with those communities and find out what's really going to happen to them if we are going to do something. So we started our experience with early childcare after a lot of research work on finding out how early childcare reduces the social security outlay in other countries too by 1/7. So reduces it to 1/7. So this country didn't see the benefit of it or what? I really don't know, because really nothing much was happening. The promise to the child was not happening at all. So what we could do was we spoke to a number of people and we started working with the government schools. Again, we had a lot. I don't know how many of you would know about Tamil Nadu, but we are a very volatile state. We have a lot of factors beyond the facade of what is shown. We have very highly vulnerable high-risk groups, but who are unwilling to change also. So people won't that easily agree to any change because probably they're complacent. They're happy with what is happening. But we saw that that's really bringing children at no advantage at all. So we really discovered so many things. One of it was early childcare was in a big state of mess, and I had talks with the top officials in the early childcare, but nothing much could be done because they themselves were not very sure what needed to be done. So then we started working with the centers in those high-risk areas. We started working those schools, but we were asked to leave. Though the officials gave us permission to work in those places and make changes, The local political groups there didn't allow us to work, and because they saw no benefit to it. So with due regards and gave them a bye, we had to move out. Now we got into this big time thinking that something solid has to be done. So we really worked ourselves in with a group of village youth. So we started talking through word of mouth, we started talking to village youth and literally sitting with them and brainwashing them with all the things which by then I had downloaded a lot of things from the internet. I had found out for myself what all Montessori, because I was not a qualified Montessorian. And I couldn't get any of these details because you people are spread and you are far and few between. Sorry to say that, but I couldn't get any information. So I had to, I don't know if you heard of Shuchenian's material on the net?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, fine. He's the secret of what I'm speaking today. So I got all the material downloaded, pages after pages after pages, sat and went through it meticulously. It was a 3 to 6 presentation of what has to be done. Sat and went through it page after page, and then I was so convinced that this is what went wrong with my own kids. I started getting, in fact, some time ago they said that you shouldn't have anger and jealousy. I really became angry and jealous with all of you. Because nobody told me this before. And my kids missed out. My own kids missed out. Nobody told me that that's such a system. I would have really used it, and I love kids. And I could just, fill in so well with these ideologies and beautiful principles. But it was just not working out. So then after that, the hunt started. Okay, now I have somebody who is willing to fund a school in a rural area. Somebody who is willing to give some money. Where will I find teachers? I am not a teacher. I have the heart of a teacher, but I am not a teacher. A teacher or a Montessori adult. And these are about 50-60 kilometers away, and where will I find? So the village youth also were baffled. They really didn't, because there are not many graduates in the place, and even if they are graduates, they are all doing any postal thing. They wouldn't know a bit of the language also. Nobody is willing to come and go and work there. I'm willing to hike the salary. Slowly I start with some 3,000, then I say 4,000, no, 5,000, 6,000. Still nobody is willing. Then what do I do? So we comb these different places, and then another sad truth I find is that we did try employing some people who were qualified from the so-called centers or whatever, but we did try and employ them in some other settings, but we found them really not doing what really the philosophy stands for. To recognize the child's potential was not there. They were doing things for the child, and they were telling, oh, these children are very poor, you see. They don't have the potential to think that much like how the schools and the well-to-do things and all they do. Hello, that's not the point. The point, Montessori didn't have a philosophy for the elite children. It was for all children, and all the children have the same capacity to think and do. And I quoted, in one of the sessions with the teachers, I quoted how one small child, she took the cube, the pink tower cube, and she said, the smallest cube, and she showed like this, and she said, like this, there will be so many cubes inside this, no? I had to tell them that this was not a child from an elite school. She was from the local slum here. So if you have given the opportunity for the child to think, the child would think and talk and do things to her fullest potential. So this was another big task. So this village youth, and here we are discussing with each other, nothing is happening. And then we find one or two. It's very difficult. Even today I have not crossed big milestones, let me tell you, but we have pushed ourselves. We moved mountains literally to get 7-8 people to come and sit with us for a vernacular orientation. I won't even say training on how to change the mindset from stick to a child. Oh, it was so difficult. And I had to do so many role plays, and I had to literally ask them to behave like children and behave like adults. Then only they were able to say. I had to ask them to regress literally to their childhood and speak out what they felt as children. So much of work, about 2 weeks, 3 weeks of orientation, then they go and then they come back. Still it was not sufficient. So it was like, okay, what you're saying is fine, madam, but when you go there, they misbehave, madam. They don't behave. They just give so much of trouble. They don't understand. Now again the language. So we gave them material. Then again what happens? Misuse of material. Abuse of material. That again shocked us. Oh my God, a child was literally playing rocket with a number rod. Then it becomes very difficult. Then we had to literally lock up all the material and say, hello, let's relook at this whole thing again. Then we had to tell them that, see, another big challenge is, unlike schools in metros, these children have never seen color. They have never seen color. Any sight of color is like, they'll plunge at it and they'll do all kinds of things to, own. They want to take it, they'll put it back. That happens even in the schools, but then this comes sometimes with a big, rage and interest, of course. So all this we were looking at it in a very practical way. Now we have devised a method where we take in nominated people from the village who are probably enrolled in a correspondence course for the last 2 years we have done that. We have started 2 rural schools. We have started just two rural schools after 3 months of orientation for them. In the last of the 3 months, the 2 weeks will be at Naudisha Montessori School. They go and sit in for observations. They go and observe. They hear out Rukmini to find out what's really happening. We have not achieved greatly, but that group of villages are sending about 50 children to the 2 centers there. It's transformed drastically. The children and the village, the ethos has changed. That the child can be treated with dignity is a big time issue. So this year we are hoping again to start 2 more such schools, and we can do only 2 or 3 at a time because it's pushing a mountain. But anyway, I'm glad that we are doing it. We really are so happy to be a part of this and share our experience. It has been a big long trek, but miles to go. Thank you very much for your patience.
Thank you all three of you for real-time examples in terms of how education leads to social change. Since I've already monopolized the floor, I'd just like to start with my first question to Peter. From the little that I've read and from very little that I've seen in the central parts of Australia around places like Alice Springs, where there's a sense of hostility in race relations and general sense of mistrust between the Aboriginal people and the white settlers. Now, did you encounter was there an initial sense of mistrust in terms of race staggering, and how is it that you sort of set about dispelling those?
I think there is certainly distrust generally about any new program that comes along because so much has been promised in the past and so little has been delivered. So I think that was probably the main thing that I'm still encountering. As far as other kinds of conflict, I think Aboriginal people are extraordinarily gentle and tolerant, and I'm surprised the whole country hasn't gone up in flames many years ago. And I've been very well treated. And, I think it takes a long time I think it will take a long time for people there to come forward and to feel confident that this is a project that is actually going to stay around for some time, not just another fly-by-night white bloke coming in with a new idea and then leaving again as soon as he gets a better job. So the hope is that we will be able to train an Aboriginal person to take over the program. That's really the aim. It's not for me to state it. The program has been started. There are scholarships to train Aboriginal people, and as soon as we can find a person who is willing to do the training, then they will do it and hopefully take the program over. At some stage there may be a 3-6 program in the school as well in the future. So it's a small beginning, but there's a well-known Aboriginal song that says, "From little things, big things grow." So,
this is to Dilbert and Vidya Shelter. I'm Lakshmi Kumar. I'm the trainer from Hyderabad. I know the immense task that we are doing, I think small, very small, but that's fine. Feeling small is the way, the more we feel small, then probably we'll grow big, But I would like to let you know that our training center offers 4 scholarships. So in case you have suitable candidates, it will be a 100% scholarship.
Wow!
And of course, we managed to give it to somebody whom we think is suitable enough, deserves it there. But I think, please consider this. And oh!
Yeah, I can gladly add to this because I came here with delight to hear that these things happen, and I only regret that the opportunity of this beautifully organized conference is not more heavy on these subjects, because it's so damn important for humanity and for all the region of the world. And this fits perfectly to what I'm going to offer, because my own small organization, I'm not a Montessorian either. I'm not going to talk about things I talked yesterday. Don't you worry. I'm not taking No, but I want to offer something very concrete, because I want this thing to go on.
Yeah.
Because this should not be an inspiring assembly, and like yesterday or anything else, we should have a future perspective. And I've talked already to Andre Olafa, the president, who is quite aware of the necessity in the world, in Africa and in many places of the world where these necessities are hot, they have to be solved. And with a wonderful high level of aiming, it is very difficult to reach those levels completely. So we must find a new sort of high quality, praise for you for the quality argument, but feasible, cheaper way. What you offered is one way, and I can offer something additional. We found out in our projects, which started 25 years ago, that we needed a teacher training manual, which does not replace the books which the teachers have to make. This is a trainer manual, which is in detail, in French in our case and in English now also. Montessori didn't have that in that sense, not made for these simple purposes. It's there, it's printed. My small organization is paying for it, it's there. There's a pile of books, and they're going to be sold in the world, but they're not made to be sold and make money. They're sold to be helped. They're made to be helping. So in other words, if we find truthful projects like yours and others, those books will be free, available, and will add up beautifully to people. Because it's not total subject. I must say one word to this, not to give illusions. A book alone is not enough.
Yeah, sure.
You need the books, but you need at least a few weeks of a qualified, trained person. Doesn't have to be a trainer.
Can I comment here?
And then, wait a moment. And then this is absolutely free, but I have to find, together with the organizers here and Andre and the Indians, I have to find a way to handle this, giving away of these books in a proper way. I'm 71 now. In Germany, I cannot handle the administration of this thing. We cannot send individual books to somewhere in India.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. But for anybody else who wants to read how, in our case, in Haiti, these things have developed. My own book, which came out 3 weeks ago, is just that story, with all the failures I have gone through, with all the mishappenings.
Yes.
It's so typical what you said, it's so wonderfully true. Everything is we are learners ourselves. We have to learn, and lately it gets to a positive result. But this book, which I've written, is available in the market. But this I cannot give away, although it's printed also in a way. It's not for making money. But technically, it's too expensive to just distribute it. It doesn't work, because how could I manage this? But I have little sheets on that, little leaflets, which you can have since 3 weeks. It's in the market. It gives the whole story. With finally the visit of Andre Oberfreit in our project in Haiti, which I was very proud of, because this gave us a little, boost morally and financially, morally. But I mean, those who want to don't feel obliged, but it gives the whole story, right? It's my own story of also finding sense in life. And anybody who wants to find sense in life who doesn't have it yet, does not benefit from that. But congratulations to you. I will talk to the organizers how we can manage this thing with a book. Those who want to have a look at this training manual, there's one at Ninos. Ninos sells them regularly, but we don't have to buy them when you are part of your project.
What's it called?
It's called Montessori workshop.
Workshop.
There's
Okay,
only
I
one
noted
is
it down.
promised
Yes,
to
I
the
know.
Australians.
I
And
saw
it's
that.
there to look at.
I saw that. I saw that.
It's made for practice.
It's wonderful.
Oh, I'm already talking 2 minutes, it's too much. Okay, thank you for doing this, and I really hope you're the right person to bring this forward. If something like this should happen again, it should happen again, then let's make it a bigger scale for this kind of thing.
It means a lot because it really gives us so much of strength to say, okay, let's go and listen to it. Yeah, that's what it is.
That one
I want
last.
to congratulate you and say if I cannot share my past or anything, I can share myself and all the experience of 34 years. I was a Montessori 34 years ago, but I had the good fortune of working 14 years with the Odisha tribals on coordinating education, upgrading and innovating primary education. I had early childhood care education also through the non-formal education centers in Tamil Nadu. So I worked extensively. I'm going to tell you our background. We always planned that ultimately to bring the best of Montessori into it. We did a lot of workouts material. That Y.D. was an associate of Montessori. We went and stayed with him and he showed us from sticks and stones this whole bit of material can be reproduced.
Yes.
He was the first person who gave us the courage that money doesn't matter with the game. And we had another training with an Englishman, so we learned carpentry, pottery, paper mache work, upon works. So I sometimes feel, I'm lost in the metro setting like where I'm working now, training high-class Montessorians who just want to hop abroad. So since this is my home and I speak about 6 Indian languages, I did a trainer's manual with Akshay, translated it in Mori also, collected all
We'd be
the
really
books
happy
down.
to have you.
So, whatever way I can help, I'm very happy to.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Just one final question before we wind up.
Real question, but on a very variated and not full comparative scale, we're trying to do something kind of similar as since Montessori really ends up being for rich kids in the Western society. And I think we struggle on something that was left, which is sustainability. It's a shame Lawrence is not here because I know she's been doing wonderful projects in Africa. She's invite more to talk about that. You can solve this issue in some way, and how do you think you can solve sustainability? Because you don't just consider going through donation.
I'll just say very briefly on that. When we talk to, I missed out 2 points. One is that in this village group of 10 girls, we managed to get 2 girls into the international diploma. But how? After this bridge course and founding them with a lot of language skills and all that, and they are doing it over an extended period of 2.5 years. They can't do it in 8 months or 10 months because they will fail. So they are doing it slowly, but that's okay for them. Because that culture has already set into the school. That way, 1. 2 is that we are promoting something called a micro school, which is an entrepreneur model of a school it's not called a school, it's a learning center in a village. Because the minute you call it a school, it will break the will and the heart of anyone who wants to start a school in Tamil Nadu. It's so tough, it's just not possible. So when you have that, we call it as a learning center, it's like a, it's like a camouflage, but anyway, the secret is that it's for the children. And we give him a model where he can generate some funds after the school hours. We like sustainable model in the form of computer education in the evening, some typewriting, PCO kind of setup, and we also give like, during weekends to rent out the space. So we give him a model which he'll be able to generate some funds to sustain that place after our initial hand-holding for a couple of years, because otherwise it's not sustainable, and then we can't lifelong keep supporting the initiative. We have to move, we can't stick to it forever. So this model is working out, and then they are in the evenings they have computer classes running for children, and believe me, the farmers and then the casual laborers are willing to spend 50 rupees a month to send their children to the school. We are allowing them to charge a fee. We are also asking for the money, some 100 rupees per month for computer education. These people are willing to spend. So the rent and then the salaries, to a certain extent we are subsidizing with some corporates, but otherwise he is able to run this on a 24-hour basis. At least he uses 20 hours for all kinds of things. So that is one sustain, like it's like an entrepreneur model. That's how we promote, because we cannot call it a school and then stop at that. We found that so many days beyond the school working hours, nothing is happening in that infrastructure. At that point, I would like to add that the infrastructure in schools here are grossly underutilized in metros as well as in other places. And I'm a harbinger of, the big time advocacy that schools must become resource centers for children to come and learn outside school. Because you have all the facilities, especially Montessori schools have such beautiful child-friendly environments just serving about 50 children. Why? 1 square feet of space costs 10,000 rupees if you have to build one in the city and you serve only 50 children. It's not, it's gross injustice. So you should open your school for evening classes, weekend classes, resource center, do whatever you can to maximize it for the number of children you can reach out to. That's the real sense of reaching out, because otherwise it's just closed and just for that small number and then you stop. It's for any child across economic criteria. Please open it to more children. It's just not enough for just giving it for that small morning time alone. No. So just because children will not learn in the afternoon, let's not go with these conditions in our mind. Children will enjoy wherever they are, whatever. It's only we have to learn from them. Children are my greatest teachers. Thank you.
First of all, I'm very happy that you're from Chennai. Very happy. I'm part of something called Chennai Social Service, which is a registered organization in the Tamil Nadu government. We've been hunting to adopt a village like as a group, but unfortunately we were not able to get through to the right people and all that. So I'm very happy that I met you here. So we would definitely like to have a tie-up with you. And when you said that the youth that you had, the village, you were not able to do much. Though they were there, they were not able to do much. We wanted to do, but we don't know what to do. So I'll be very happy